river floods and coastal flooding, often caused by storm surges.
And those are major floods we have within our sector in Ghana. But there are other forms. Somebody will say coastal flood, somebody will talk about urban flood. But urban flood is almost like the flash flood. And it happens normally when the surface is paved and then you don't have enough drainage system. And so the water is available on the surface to cause flood. And then, of course, the sea level rise where there's a lower coast. The sea level rises a bit and inundates the coast that is nearby. And of course, there are rivers that overflow their brink. We just remembered the recent, Volta River.
We have the water bodies that we all know, the lakes, the streams, the ocean. We have them, as the sun heats, they evaporate. It goes into the atmosphere and then it forms clouds. Once the clouds are matured, it starts to fall as rain. And if it falls as rain, we have some that percolate into the soil and then go into the underground water table. And then we have some that comes as runoff that we all know that some results into floods. All these things also go back into the oceans or the river band, or the rivers and the streams that we have.
Ghana experiences flood disasters every year, resulting in loss of lives and property. In urban areas like Accra and Kumasi, floods are triggered by seasonal rainfall, and it is predicted that flood risk will get worse as rainfall classified as heavy is projected to increase between 2010 and 2050.
Three major you would be hearing of: the north, the Roten Basin, and then the Greater Accra. But Kumasi has emerged a lot, and it comes with so many economic challenges. And sometimes the economic loss is not just the money, but the time that people would have to be relocated, people would have to, even the socio-economic cost, the stress, the emotion. All this, if you want to quantify them, is a lot of loss to the people of Ghana.
Every year comes with variations when it comes to the rainy season, likewise the dry season. Last year too, we also had the dust all over the country. Visibilities were less than 200 meters over most areas. But then this year, some areas reported 100 meters. And this case was in foggy conditions, not with the dust alone. So we have variations. So definitely, if you say the first share of the climate change or the climate variability, it has been with us every year. And this year, the rainfall season will still have its first share.
The National Disaster Management Organization, NADMO, report indicates that between 2015 and 2020, Ghana recorded 1,446 flood events, which caused 309 injuries and 510 deaths, and 54,744 houses being inundated, and the destruction of 436,563 acres of farmlands. Between 1970 and 2019, Africa recorded economic losses of around $38.5 billion due to floods and storm disaster.
We all had a common attribute of climate vulnerability. We are all suffering from the effects of climate change, and we all have had telling effects of climate effects on our economies.
The scientists have disclosed that climate change could cause more earthquakes and volcanic eruptions by increasing the weight of water on the Earth's crust. When glaciers melt, the water can seep into cracks in the Earth's crust, causing them to widen and weaken.
They are not very strong. In terms of strength, they are not. What they rather have is they have plains, and because they have plains, with a little saturation, they slip, and that is the thing we experience up that range. Sometimes you hear that the slopes are filled, and they are even blocking the road, because as water percolates through these weak zones, it will definitely fail.
People say hurricane intensity, storm, tornadoes would increase because of climate change. People also indicate that earthquake, because of the reaction, formation of or the occurrence of climate change, is as a result of some heat. Without heat, earthquake cannot happen, but it indicated that earthquake can also increase.
Statistics showed that Asia, Europe, America, Africa, and the Red Sea have experienced thousands of earthquakes due to high levels of seismic activity. The data shows that Ghana has not been spared by the earthquakes. On 24th June 2020, an earthquake with a magnitude of 4.0 struck 17 kilometers, 11 miles of the epicenter. Upon lives in Kaswa, and Nana Kwame also lives in Accra, the two shared their terror about the devastating effects of climate change.
Of course, I've been living in this residence for the past 15 years, and we have been experiencing earthquake occasionally. Last year, when it happens, most of the buildings cracked, and it was very, very dangerous. We are also facing these flood issues, which is also another big problem to us.
If care is not taken, climate change will wipe all living things on this earth or planet.
Places like these areas are prone to earthquakes due to seismic activity. A geological survey has revealed.
One of the mandates of the authority is to advise on geohazards. And if we are talking about geohazard, it means hazards that are emanating from the geology of the area. For example, it's a hill. The rocks there have formed a hill. It's the geology that makes the area. We know that if it's a hill, depending on the type of rock, the slopes of the hill may not be stable. Some rocks are competent, others are not. So if it's a competent rock, yes, failure may not be an issue. But if it's an incompetent rock, like let me take the Abri Range, okay, where the rocks there are mostly the Togo series and the quartzites and schist and all those kind of rocks that are not very competent. The Weja area has been an area that, it's been known, and geologically we've said it severally, that in terms of earthquakes, that is the most prone area to these natural occurrences.
The impact of seismic activity that causes an earthquake are beyond imagination. In the aftermath of flooding, higher water temperatures accelerate the growth of waterborne pathogens, which encourage the outbreak and spread of deadly diseases, including cholera and malaria, and the negative effects do not end there, where those affected struggle with their mental health. The fight against climate change requires collective action, from individual adaptation to global cooperation every step counts. Together, we can build a more resilient future for Ghana and communities around the world. Kweku Martin reporting.
We shall tell our own stories, narrate our own details, watch the continent with our own spectacles and through our own lenses. We shall tell our stories better, the ups and downs, the pleasant and unpleasant without a slant. Stories from Africa, by Africans, told by Africans, understood by the world. All this and more within Africa on Tuesdays and Fridays at 4:05 p.m. on GBC News. Within Africa with Maltiti.
In 1965, Ghana chose her own value. From cowries and pounds, the cedi was born. Our